Welcome, welcome everyone. This is your girl Janelle here with another episode of Talk to Me Tuesday. I am so excited to be here with you guys each and every week as we cover different topics to really empower you in the relationships that you have with yourself as well as with others as you continue to succeed and propel in your business, in your relationships, in your profession. So, it is truly, truly, truly my honor to be here with you all. I am so thankful that you guys are joining me. Fam, if you are here, go ahead and put fam into the comments so that way we know you are rocking and rolling with us. If this is the very first time that you are joining us, I want to welcome you, welcome you, welcome you, welcome you to the family. So if that is the case, go ahead and put first time into the comments so we can go ahead and recognize you and celebrate you as well. So this week, we have the opportunity to share with someone, an author who just published her first book, who is coming to talk to us about some of the experiences and some of the challenges that she has been so successful in being able to propel through. So I just want to go ahead and invite her in to talk to us today about her book, Dwelling in the Secret Place. So again, if you are with me, I just want you to know that we are excited to have you here. We always take the time to ensure at the end, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, that you have the opportunity to drop those questions into the comments. So as we continue today in the discussion and the dialogue, do make sure if there are any questions at all that you want us to answer during this time, that you go ahead and drop those into the comments, and we will be sure to ensure that we are going ahead and rocking and rolling with those questions. Morgan, I'm so happy to see you here supporting. We are excited to welcome you to the family and hope that this won't be your last time joining us today for Talk to Me Tuesdays, and that you will be able to join us in the future. So Kareem, thank you, thank you, thank you for the love. Deborah, I'm sure you're out there joining us too. I'm so thankful for you guys here today. So we're going to go ahead and get this party started. But like I announced previously, we had a raffle, and I wanted to just share with you that the raffle winner has been announced. My little girl Janelle, for those of you who know me, picked out the winner, and we are this prize right here, this beautiful, beautiful prize with different goodies about indulging, is going to be sent to a member of the family. Rochelle Ives, you are the winner. I'm not sure if you're joining us or if you're going to catch us in the replay. We simply want you to know that you are the winner. We're going to go ahead and get that package out. For the rest of you, as we have future raffles and future opportunities, make sure that you are connecting and that you are having the opportunity to join those, because who knows, maybe you'll be our next winner. So again, we all want to congratulate Rochelle on her win and to go ahead and move forward. So without further ado, I wanted to take the time. So Teresa, I was going to say Sora because she is my Sora. I'm going to go ahead and invite her into the conversation. So you can go ahead and join us on this stage at this time. So I am so excited. So I know that some of you who are here, you want to hear about this message. You want to share this message because it is powerful. If that is the case, go ahead and invite people in. Everybody is in the fam. This is your house as much as it's our house. So make sure you're sharing those invites. Let's go ahead and make sure that this message is being heard by everyone who we know is going to benefit. So if you are here, you are part of the fam, go ahead, get those invites out, because I'm telling you, you don't want to miss the message for today. For those of you who are joining for the first time, go ahead. You're part of the fam. Once we invite you in, you are part of the fam. You are at the Thanksgiving table. So you have as much power as everybody else who's in the house and in the family. So go ahead and make sure you get those invites out. So enough about me, okay? Because y'all get to talk to me every single week, right? And you get to hear my story and to hear some of my perspective to make sure that you guys are empowered as you move forward. But I received the most loving gift in the mail, where I received a copy of this phenomenal book, Dwelling in the Secret Place, One Day at a Time. Now, if the last year has taught us anything, it has truly taught us to live one day at a time. So, Teresa, tell me how you even came up with this title.
Well, thank you for asking me that question. And this journey was about how I contracted the virus. And then normally I write in my journal every single day. And so as I reflected on my journey with COVID-19 and writing in the journal, I spent 35 days at home in my bedroom, which became my sacred sanctuary. And I decided then that I would write this book with the urging of my son and others. And one day I thought of dwelling in the secret place because that's where I was dwelling for 35 days in the secret place. And I heard someone say something about a song, One Day at a Time. There's a song, an old gospel song, One Day at a Time with Sweet Jesus. That's all I'm asking. And so that was the add-on, dwelling in the secret place one day at a time.
So powerful. I thank you because, in reading your book and you and your husband at the beginning of the unknownness of COVID-19 and what COVID-19 was and the stigma, you said your son and others encouraged you. How was it, living in that initial moment when everyone was scared? We all had no concept of what the next moment, never mind the next day, was going to be like. What was that like?
So the word stigma was really a common word for us because we didn't know who to share it with and what people would think afterwards. Because I was at work when I started feeling ill, and work went crazy afterwards. And even though I was out quarantined, they put a sign on my door like I had the plague or something, and I stay away from this office. They had to clean the office. But how we dealt with it is when we were able to quarantine in our home in separate places, we slowly began to tell people what we were dealing with, starting with our family. We didn't even tell the entire family. Our children knew and our grandchildren knew, but not our parents. We waited a while to tell them because you're right, it was the unknown. Even our own PC didn't know. And it wasn't until it was May 15th when I became sick. May 18th is when I was really out. And it wasn't until May 29th we were able to get the test at Kent County Hospital because there were no testing sites in Rhode Island at the time. And so when we received the diagnosis, then it's when we began to just share because then we became missing at church. Yeah, we weren't at church. We weren't participating in all of the activities that we normally participate in. When we began to share, then it was, ooh. So we didn't even share with our neighbors. Our neighbors just didn't see it for a couple of months, but we didn't share it because of that quote unquote stigma of the unknown. But now I'm very free to talk about it because we survived. And because what we kept hearing was people were dying. And so what we were trying to do was trying to live. And I declared in writing the book that I shall live and not die. And so started doing a lot of positive affirmations and started, thinking of things that I could do for myself. But yeah, the word stigma was out there because we didn't know. And no one actually knew, but we moved beyond that to where we could share with others that yes, we had the virus, and yes, we're living through it, and yes, we survived.
Mm. It is so powerful as I read your book, right? And my little girls came and they're like, Mom, what are you reading? Like, and I didn't even paying us any attention. And, when I read your book, it was one of the days where we had lost, and recently, unfortunately, we've lost members of not just our sisterhood, but our particular chapter. We had people who were connected to the undergraduate chapter were affiliated with had lost their children. Like it was just such a time that when you gave this to me, it really held up for me. You quote here, God is the one who refreshes our soul.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking about the stigma and thinking about how you guys cocoon to keep other people safe
Mm-hmm.
when you yourselves had no understanding of what it would be.
Right.
And I think it's powerful that you were willing to share the story. Tell me, when you were writing in your journal, right? I have a book as well about daily affirmations and just the value of them and starting your day on that foot. as you were at your sickest, can you talk to us? Are you willing to talk to us about what that was like?
Some of my sickest days when my fever was spiking 103 and I was coughing, 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 I still found time to join prayer calls. That's really what got me through. I joined prayer calls. I stayed in the bed literally all day, every day. But I would join a prayer call at 6 a.m. And this was Monday. It was Sunday to Sunday. I would be on at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Some churches were having 12 noon prayer Bible study. I joined a couple of those. And I was just listening. I wouldn't comment or say anything. And then a 7 p.m. prayer. This was every single day I would join. And that's what gave me strength to keep moving. And the first day that I recall, it was early April. I was on a prayer call in the evening, and someone asked me to pray, and I could barely talk, but I had enough strength to pray. And I remember a tear coming to my eye because I said, this had to be God, because that was the first day I was able to eat something of substance, because I was living off of applesauce, 1 or 2 tablespoons of yogurt, and Gatorade.
Wow.
That's what I lived off on for that time because I couldn't eat. I wasn't hungry. The food was disgusting. And I just didn't have it was just, I didn't have an appetite. But that particular day when I was asked to pray at 7 p.m., I forgot what I had eaten that day, but I had eaten some food, which was the first day in weeks that I had a meal, but I had enough strength to offer a prayer. And at that time, even the people on the prayer line didn't know how sick we had been in our own home, because we were able to, as you say, cocoon in our own places. But I will say this, that God sets things in motion way before we even imagine or can imagine what is going to happen. We were able to quarantine in 3 separate places. My husband and I, my daughter never got sick, but she was able to stay in her quarters downstairs. My husband was in one bedroom, I was in another. We had 3 separate bathrooms. And that's all by God's design. That we didn't even have to use the same bathrooms. And because they were saying, I mean, we read every report, we listened to everything about what to do and what not to do, down to the point someone said to relieve the congestion from my chest, they said boil onions
Mm-hmm.
and wrap them in a cotton cloth and put the warm onions on your chest. I did it. I'll say it worked, but I did it. I boiled those onions every single day.
She's like, listen, by any means necessary. We had to figure
By
this out.
any means necessary. And I forgot I was also eating Italian ices to soothe my throat. But yeah, it was, thinking back on it, that God had really set us up in our household, whereas we didn't really have to interact with each other. We didn't go into the kitchen. Um, our daughter would bring us stuff and, kind of run in and run out, but she did our food shopping. We really learned how to use Instacart and, and different things, but we weren't buying a lot because we weren't eating a lot. But it's just how we changed our life, because I can recall saying a couple, I will never let anybody pick up my grocery. I want to touch my own food. But that taught us a different lesson of how to rely upon others. And we relied upon our son and daughter, who really helped us out during that time.
You know, what you just said is so profound, right? We often, they always say, I've heard time and time again, if you want to, entertain God or make him laugh, tell him what you're going to do versus what he has destined for you.
Right.
And I'm reading here, and one of the things that you highlighted, and I found myself in a very similar place, and even in what I'm doing now, even with Talk to Me Tuesday, even with the retreats that I'm hosting, if anyone would have said to me, this is what you will do, I'd be like, yeah, no, not so much. But God, right? And I remember people who I come into contact with and just being like, I'm too busy to do that. I have too much going on to do that. And I quote you, little did I know, and little did the world know, you know, getting to that place where you were overwhelmed, overscheduled, overextended.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you thought, probably like many people who are watching us live right now, many people who are going to watch us on the replay, really getting to that place where you're like, oh, I can't be out of commission for this
Right.
many days and the world still go on.
Right.
So
Go on
talk to me.
without me.
Yes, right, because that's where we are, right? That's the truth of it, right? You sealed the sentence, right? I was trying to keep
Yeah.
it low on my ego, right? But
Yeah.
that's exactly where we are, where
Uh-huh.
we're like, the world can't survive without 30 something days, 20 something days, 10
That's
days
right.
without me. So talk to me about what that experience was like for you.
So I really, for the first time ever, was sick. I've never been sick to the point, well, with the exception of having children, but I've never been sick to that point where I was literally in the bed. And so thinking about all the things that I had to do or should be doing, it weighed on me for about the first week. And even though I was quarantined at home, and at that time we weren't teleworking, I was getting some phone calls and I had to come to a decision one day. I can't talk because I can't breathe. So I have to cease and just stop. And I said to work, you can't call me anymore. I
Mm.
need to heal. And in that time of healing in my sacred space in my bedroom, God began to speak to me in his still small voice. And so one of the chapters of my book is I pitched my tent in the land of hope. That I just knew that if I just laid there and just listened to God and just bathed in his presence and listening to his music and his words, that I would be okay at some point. But he forced me to be still. I mean, totally just not even moving. And I shared, I think at one point, I didn't have enough energy to comb my hair.
Wow.
I went from a very short afro to what you see now because I couldn't comb my hair. I didn't have strength. It took me an hour to take a shower. And I'm being very, to get out of the shower, sit on the floor, dry myself off, try to comb through my hair. It just didn't work.
Mm.
So it just took a lot out of me. But then to lay there to understand that only person that requires us to be this busy is our own selves. None of all I was doing was a requirement in God's eyes. It was what I call my self-imposed busyness. I had to be on all the committees. I had to do everything at the church. If I wasn't part of it, then it shouldn't happen or it wouldn't happen. Well, he showed me very differently.
Mm.
It still went on. I've been able to utilize the word no more often. I share all the time with people that the word no is a holy word. And it is okay to say no sometimes because I had to say no a lot for 35 days that I just can't do that. And so now this whole new transformation that has taken place has allowed me to put things into perspective. I know my limits and what I can do and what I can't do. I don't have to do everything.
Mm.
And
That is so powerful. I say to people all the time, no, it's a full sentence. But now I know it's not only is it a full sentence, it's a holy full sentence, right?
the holy full
It's a
sentence.
holy full sentence, right? So now
Mhm.
I'm even using it more because no is something that I really say to people that I get to support in the coaching that I do is you have to practice no because for so long we are just consistently given the belief that you have to say yes.
Mhm.
And I encourage people, and I even say it in the work that I do during the day. You know, I push back because that's how it's classified when you say no. And I'm like, I'm not
Mhm.
pushing back because you posed a question, and a
Mm,
question means there are options
yes.
versus you giving me a directive
Mhm.
that I need to do. And
Right.
really getting people to understand that. And I think it's so powerful. I think about some of the comments in the other Talk to Me Tuesdays where people are like, what was the voice of God like, right? Because I think people expect it to be, Morgan Freeman coming
Mhm.
down and speaking to you, right? But sometimes it's just a quiet feeling. So can
Yeah.
you share more about what that was like when you realized that God was speaking to you at this time?
It was like it was a quiet presence. It was just lay here. And he and then layman, I got you. You just lay down, I got you. And then more visions became clearer and just dropped into my spirit of all the things that, not all of them, but the things I should be doing and not all the things that I wanted to do. And so all of the things I should be doing was more related to growing closer to him and shutting out the noise of the world of all the things that the world wanted me to do also. But I learned to appreciate nature in those quiet moments because I could look out the window. I never paid attention to looking out the window because you just jump up in the morning and you go in and start your day. You don't even take time to look at what God had blessed us with. And I noticed the trees were green and the leaves and the flowers, and I heard the birds. And it's because I allowed myself to just be still and to listen to him, to appreciate what he has blessed us with. I never noticed that my neighbor worked in his yard every day. I hear it now because again, I didn't pay attention to that. But listening, being still, one of the scriptures say, be still and know that I'm God. So when you're still, know his voice is not going to come to you like thunder, but it's more like a peace. And that when we walk in that peace where our anxieties are reduced, we're not stressed, we're just able to just lay there in his presence and just, I mean, just kind of like operating in like a white space. You know, the white space where
Mhm.
you could look at like a white canvas that's blank, but he helps you to put, things in perspective on that canvas and make it into something more beautiful. So that's how the book, I was able to write every day in my journal, which I have I keep the journal and probably will have it forever. And that's every page. Now I couldn't write everything from the journal into the book, but he gave me just snippets. I have little notes on what do you call those little yellow things? I can't, memo
Post-it.
pad
Yep.
and post-its. I have all kind of stuff to scribble because I would have a thought and I'd write it down and I stick it in the journal, but I come back to it and write. But that was because I had to sit quietly in his presence. And he has shown me that when we allow God to be God and not put ourselves before him, but allow him to lead and guide us, then everything else really kind of falls into place for our lives. And I've seen such a major refreshing and transformation. And I know I hear right tomorrow reimagining ministry and reimagining this, but it's been more transformative for us that when I was totally healed, being able to sit outside and go fly kites, we started flying kites. I can't look forward. I can't wait until we could go back out to Newport to fly kites. That's what God taught us to do, to sit still in my presence so you could do things that you enjoy. We were just busy. We couldn't even enjoy vacations because we were always so busy.
Mm.
But now, when work is over for me, work is over. I don't have to think about it anymore, but that's what I had to learn in this process, that God wants us to be still and listen quietly to him. And he speaks in different ways, but he speaks. So when you have those visions and those thoughts, it's him. Like, wow. And when they come to fruition, it's like, oh, that's a major wow. That's a big OMG, you know,
Yes.
because we sit still. But when we're so busy, we can't even get our thoughts together because it's so, what do they call it? Clutter.
Mm-hmm.
My brain is so cluttered with so many thoughts, but my brain was uncluttered And I like the feeling because it's still uncluttered because I have not gone back to the pre-COVID busyness that I was involved in. I'm engaged in things I want to do, not that I am forced to do, I'm thinking I need to do.
You know, this exactly ties to one of the things that I just want to call out. And you talk about not to waste or miss the moment that God
Mm,
has you in, and really recognizing that you were made. Looking, you quote Esther 4:14. Who knows? Maybe you were made or created for such a time as this.
yes.
And you're getting the love in the comments. I see the fam is in the house. Fam, always go ahead and drop the comments. Let us know that you're in the house rocking and rolling with us. But it's so powerful because really helping people. And this is why I love that we have this space in Empowering Your Relationship,
Mm-hmm.
because it's about helping people to get to recognize your purpose
Mm-hmm.
and to understand how do you slow yourself down from what you want to do
Mm-hmm.
versus what he needs you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when you move into what he needs you to do, it is, I tell people all the time, I'm so thankful for the opportunity because every time I work with any of the people I support, I know it's God. Before I
Mm-hmm.
connect to any client, any program, any
Right.
service, I stop and I pray and say, God,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
let there not be me and let there be you.
Right.
And hearing you talking about not missing the moments and that you're so glad. How are you going to, because the world is going to open up, and prior to us joining fam here, we had the opportunity to connect. Where can you just share about what the airport was like? Because I think that is a sign of what could come if we don't move with intentionality in the next few weeks.
The airport last Saturday, we were flying out to visit my mom who celebrated her 88th birthday, and I hadn't seen her
Woo-hoo!
since 2019. So we made a plan to go out there really quickly. She had both of her vaccinations, and the Providence Airport, with the line to check in was out the door on last Saturday morning. And I just could not believe that it was so many people traveling. And most of them were going to Florida. Not many of them were going to Kentucky where we were going. But maybe in a couple of weeks during the Kentucky Derby, some
Yes,
people
they
may
will
fly
be there.
then. But I looked at that and was I was almost afraid. I said, "Oh my goodness!" I mean, even though they had on their mask or whatever, it was just too many people. But when we arrived in Kentucky, the airport was empty. The rental car was empty. Place was empty.
You're like, okay.
No one was in Kentucky. But they all, as we saw in the news, they were in Florida with no mask on. And so I guess people really, so many people say they were so cooped up in the home for so long they want to get out without thinking of the ramifications that COVID is real. I know people, have their own thoughts about it, but I know many people who's had COVID. I know many people who have died of COVID. I
Mhm.
know many people who are in the hospital right now with COVID. And so looking at that, it makes me wonder if we really take life serious, if we are really taking our purpose serious, or are we always looking for the fun time or living life like it's golden? Now, I believe in living life like it's golden, but I also believe in living life with some common sense also.
You know,
So
my grandma
that
always
taught me a
said,
lot.
common sense ain't that common.
But I mean, having COVID really taught us, I mean, even to this day, it's been a whole year. March 29th was the actual day, our 1 year anniversary of actually getting the diagnosis. March 18th was the day that we started quarantining. We haven't allowed people in our home. I can count the number of people that's not my daughter, my son, my daughter-in-law, my 3 grandchildren. Besides them, it's been minimal people who come into the home. I think I can count probably about 5. that we've allowed in
Mm-hmm.
the house. And so even with my neighbors, if I talk to one neighbor, she's across the street or we're 6 feet apart, yelling at each other across this driveway. I get it, but trying to get others to understand. But I think it's utilizing what God has blessed us with, that I'm showing that it wasn't a curse, but it was an opportunity. It was an opportunity for us to put things into perspective and into motion, that my life belongs to God and he directs and he guides my footsteps. And so every day now I wake up and say, this is going to be a blessed day because my eyes woke up.
Yeah.
I woke up. And if I'm up, it's a blessed day. And whatever happens in that day is because God designed it. So my new thing is, God, set the agenda for me today. Whatever it is you have for me, the words, and that work, I have to say, oh Lord, give me some words, because words I really want to say right day. Right.
Listen, I know, and I'm sure the family is dropping love, because everybody is either in that job, been in that job, knows of that job, right? Where you need the Heavenly Father to come down and to be present.
We had Secretary Womazetta Jones was our speaker on Sunday for Women's History Month. And she said, whatever job that you do, you make sure that it's led by God. Mm. You don't just jump into stuff, but your job is, you're led by God. So I believe that I'm led by God in my role, but I need him to help me at every step of the way. In all aspects of everything that I do, I need him to guide me before I jump into stuff. We just jump into stuff sometimes, but now this year taught me to take about 10 steps backwards before jumping into stuff. And I'm much happier because of it.
The family's out here sending you love. Roxanne is like, oh yes. Rochelle says she totally understands. Edna's like, look, I agree. COVID is an opportunity for us to stop and listen, because humanity needed the perspective, because again, we were moving so fast that life was happening to us, not with us. And really get into a place where, I don't necessarily do New Year's resolutions, because I tried it in the past, didn't have success, right? Because I've been trying to lose these same 10 pounds since I was probably created, right? So I've given up. But I intentionally go through an activity where I identify a word that is going to guide me.
Yes.
And my word this year is purpose. What is the purpose for this? Does it connect to the purpose to which I was designed?
Yes.
And this is something that I encourage people to really stop and reflect about where you are. Because, you mentioned here, 2 Corinthians 1:20, that it reminds us that whatever God promised is stamped with a yes and an amen.
Amen. Yes.
Okay. Listen, fam, put amen if you agree, right? Because put amen in the comments. Let's know you're here. Because it is so true that one of the things from this pandemic is it has really made us realize how we feel about being sometimes alone. And sometimes realizing that in our relationships, right? Because sometimes I say to people, you may be in a relationship, but you may be alone. You may have a proximity of another human,
right.
But you may be alone. You may have had children who've graduated, who've moved on, and now the newness of the pandemic hit when you haven't been alone for so long. So how do you learn to maneuver with that? And I love that I get to support people through that, because really loving yourself and recognizing just how magnificent every being is, not because you are just magnificent, because you are designed by God.
Yes. We are designer originals. And we have to live like that. And one thing that I often say, because I teach adult church school, I said, God did not create us to live mediocre lives. We were created to live an abundant life. That's not always with materialistic things, but to live with joy and to peace and happiness. That's what he expects of us. And not only to love us, ourselves, but we love each other. But we can't love each other when we all bound up. We all uptight because we're so busy to enjoy life.
Mhm.
But this has taught us to just take a few steps back, enjoy the life that he's created. Look at the trees and the birds. And I didn't even know we had squirrels in the backyard. I'm telling you. And now I sit here and I can look at the squirrels and not scared of them when they come dodging out because I've set out in the world that God created for us to enjoy. This is our Garden of Eden.
Mm.
And we haven't taken advantage of enjoying the Garden of Eden. But now we can because he has given us an opportunity to slow it down. We don't have to be in such a big hurry to get back to what we call as the normal. Nothing what we were doing in 2019 and 20 was normal. None of that was normal. Getting 2 or 3 hours of sleep, who does that?
Mm.
And, and so we're at a place where we could take deep breaths and breathe again and pitch your tent in the land of hope. That's we pitch our tent in the land of hope by believing that we were created for your word of purpose for such a time as this. And how you gonna utilize your time? Wasting it away by moving so fast? No, just slow down. And the other thing I learned by staying home is because I was another person, I didn't order anything online. But when I got well, I learned how to utilize online shopping. We have boxes every single day on the porch. I didn't know what the stores looked like. I just kind of just is it changed how we really do things. And I know a lot of people saying that they didn't like being home alone. They didn't like sheltering in place. I love I'm telling you, after I was well, I love being home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't ever have to go outside. Some days I don't go outside for 2 to 3 days, and I'm okay with that. Because before, I never was able to enjoy the house that God blessed us with.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can enjoy it.
Edna's like, listen, she said she knows exactly what you're talking about because she's gotten to the point where in this last year, she can now recognize the different bird calls. And this is the thing that, I fully agree with her. Like, I am aware of, and like you, some days I don't go outside, right? And I try to at least go upstairs and sit towards the sunlight because I'm just going. But I've gotten to a place where every moment, I've gotten to a place in my life where, maybe because my kids are so young, where time to me has become more valuable than even money. And I say this frequently because we can all make more money. Like all of us. You can always make more money. I don't care how much money you have, you cannot make more time.
Right.
So as I've gotten wiser, I'm just like, time is, I can never get back a moment. I can have billions, I can be the richest person in the world. I cannot buy back a moment.
Not 1 minute.
So how am I using this unbelievable resource that I'm provided every single day to make a difference? To make a difference for myself, to make a difference for my kids, to make a difference for the people who I interact with. And really holding that up. I love even in the way that you said, really allowing yourself to shift into a place of total submission. Because you are promised to bless you with a spiritual abundance here on earth and in heaven. I mean, listen, realizing that, I want to make sure that if you guys have any questions, I mean, she's poured into us, right? So if you don't have any questions, I understand. But if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the comments before we close out in the next few. But what advice would you give to someone who gets the diagnosis now? What would you say to them? What would you encourage them to do in the stillness of the moment?
I would encourage, don't give up. One. And because we all have access to a cell phone, find something inspiration to listen to. TD Jakes have podcasts. Everybody have music on, and I listen, and because I kept something in my ear that was a positive, affirming, that everything is going to be okay. And my thought process never turned dark. It wasn't a dark moment where I've listened to people say, well, I just thought I was just going to die. Well, I just said, no, I wasn't going to die. But if you find yourself being diagnosed with COVID, rest. But rest with your cell phone close to your ear or some ear pods, listening to positive messages from pastors, ministers, motivational speakers, songs of inspiration. That's why I added those songs at the back of the book, because those are the songs that got me through, that I listened. I didn't listen to a lot of R&B. I didn't watch a lot of Netflix. I just didn't. I wanted to, but I just didn't feel like it. It just didn't feel. But I felt motivated to listen to TD Jakes, and sometimes I would just fall asleep on it, but I would wake back up, and on a podcast you can always go back. But don't lose your hope, because God already knows the plans that He has for each and every one of us. And just like that one poem says, that when in the footsteps in the sand, that He's walking right beside us. And we already know that if it's not our time to go, He's not going to take us. But if it is our time to go, He will. But I'm saying, in the midst of it, don't lose your hope. But you also got to listen to things that will bring you hope. And if you have family and friends around you that are negative, cut them out. That's not what you need to hear. You don't need to hear the negative Nellies at that time. Mm-hmm. You need to hear people, not downplaying that the sickness is real. It's real. But you want to hear people that say, you know what? I'm holding your hand with you. I got you at this time. We're moving forward. We're moving forward together. But for those family and friends, like Job's friends, you remember Job's friends that told him that he should just curse God and die? Those are not the people you need to hang around or be around during this time. You need to get some new friends that's going to help move you forward. And, during this whole process, one of my friends said she called to uplift me, and I uplifted her. I said, yeah, because I don't have a sad story to tell. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm sick. No, I can't talk longer than 5 minutes, but I still have hope, because God promised me that if I keep my hand in His and hold on to His unchanging hand, that He would not let me go. And I'm still here.
I love it. I love it. Melody, I see you out there, giving us love, joy. Marcus, really just holding up for as we get ready to close out. I thank you, fam, for joining us. I thank those of you who join us for the first time. I thank you who come and make sure you're part of the party every week. But I really want to encourage everyone that, as we began this conversation, we talked about just the stigma of having COVID, and just recognizing how you take this message, how you take what Teresa shared with us today, to think about the people who are in your circle, the people who are in your realm, if they are to contract it. Because one of the things we didn't talk about, but was captured in the book, was you were protected. You were masked up. Like, it wasn't like you were out here freewheeling, laughing and coughing and hugging people.
I was at church preaching to people. I was preaching Women's Day sermons, 2 of them, one in New Haven, Connecticut, and one in Providence, Rhode Island. The same day, I'm doing the Lord's work and still get the virus.
Masked up.
Not hugging, fist pumping, and still. Mm-hmm. So it can happen to anyone, but you just have to be prepared, and I'm saying just deal with it in a way, not in a sorrowful, dark way, depressed way, but just deal with joy, and you get through it. I think it's the mindset. Yes, I was like, I'm living. I'm not dying. I'm not going to the hospital. I'm not getting on the ventilator. I declared all of that. I'm not going to the hospital, and I'm not getting on the ventilator. I'm not staying at the hospital. No, I'll go get the test, but I'm not staying.
I thank you. I thank you. The fam, doesn't have any questions, but I just want to really encourage those of you, we're going to share her contact information. If you want to continue to engage in this conversation, you want to get a copy of the book, whatever, however you want to connect with Teresa, you know, she's part of our tribe now. She's part of our family. So she's invited, she's here, she's going to rock and roll with us, you know, and really just continuing to post questions in our group about things that you're grappling with, because so often what happens is with any of us that are experiencing something, we assume it is only us. And I just want to thank you and honor you for sharing your story to help so many people recognize they're not alone.
Amen. That is so true. Amen.
Marlo's out here. She's joining us. She's like, I want to copy the book. So I will make sure that we connect you two as well, just to go through this journey together. So I thank you. As we get ready to close out, I just want to have you share. Is there anything else you want to share with our family before we close for this episode of Talk to Me Tuesday?
I just want to say the point and the reason for writing the book is to share with the whole world that if you dwell in the secret place, one day at a time, that God will get you through whatever situation or circumstance you find yourself in. That's my final thought, is you dwell in the secret place one day at a time.
Well, they are sending you love. They're saying this was a great chat. Roxanne, Rochelle, thank you, Rochelle. Again, congratulations on winning that prize. We will get that in the mail for you tomorrow. Again, it is truly my honor to serve you each and every week in Talk to Me Tuesday. I look forward to seeing you all next week. Continue to stay safe and continue to love each other. Take care until next time. This is your girl, Janelle, signing off.